Students, I would like to welcome you all to today's social science video lesson. Dear students, last class we had discussed first 3 chapters of history. Carnatic Wars, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Anglo-Maratha War, Anglo-Sikh War, dual government concept, the system of subsidiary alliance, the doctrine of lapse. All these concepts were discussed during the last session. In today's session, let's have discussion regarding other 3 chapters of history. What are they? Opposition to British rule in Karnataka, social and religious reformation movement, the first war of Indian independence. We shall discuss all these 3 lessons. First one, opposition to British rule in Karnataka, chapter number 4. Here the people of Karnataka or many leaders of Karnataka also waged a war against the British. For example, Anglo-Mysore wars, Dondiya Wag, Kittur, it was Rani Chennamma, Sangolli Rayanna, rebellion of Bedas of Hulagali. These are all the important concepts which should be given more importance. Now let us discuss these concepts one by one. First one, Anglo-Mysore wars. You have already studied that there are 4 Anglo-Mysore wars. Now let us discuss first Anglo-Mysore war. First Anglo-Mysore war was fought between Hyder Ali and the British. It was fought in the year 1767 and it ended in the year 1769. What were the reason for the war? The prominence gained by Hyder Ali in the south was not tolerated by the British, and even Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad, they were also not tolerated. Hence, the British started devising cunning plan to defeat him. But British entered into an agreement with Maratha and the Nizam of Hyderabad against Hyder Ali. A tri-party alliance was started, but Hyder Ali was very clever and he was successful in breaking the alliance which was made between the British and the Nizam of Hyderabad and the Marathas. And also Hyder Ali was successful in creating enmity between the Marathas, Nizam of Hyderabad and the British. At the same time, one incident took place in a place called Arcot, that is in the year 1767, Hyder Ali and Nizam of Hyderabad attacked Arcot. After this incident, the first Anglo-Mysore war started, because the king of Arcot, he had an alliance with the British. In this way, first Anglo-Mysore war started in the year 1767 and later it came to an end by the Treaty of Madras. In this way, first Anglo-Mysore war was fought between Hyder Ali and the British. Now let us move to second Anglo-Mysore war. Here you can see the picture. In this picture you can see a place called Mahe. Mahe you are observing here. Here for second Anglo-Mysore war there were 2 reasons. First one, political situation in Travancore and Tanjavur. Another reason was Mahe. It was attacked by the British. Actually Mahe, it was a French colony. It was under the control of Hyder Ali. But British attacked Mahe and captured it. It became the reason for second Anglo-Mysore war. When second Anglo-Mysore war started in the year 1780, Hyder Ali was defeated in the battlefield, especially in a place called Porto Novo. This increased confidence level of the British and also it changed the direction of the battle. At the same time, British, with the help of Salbai agreement, they were successful in winning over the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad. After that, in the year 1782, Hyder Ali died due to illness during the war. In this way, the second Anglo-Mysore war was continued by his son Tippu Sultan. Tippu Sultan continued the second Anglo-Mysore war and also he decided to protect Mangalore and the coastal regions. He defeated the British, but in the year 1784, the Second Anglo-Mysore War came to an end by the Treaty of Mangalore. Here you have to remember all these points with regard to the Second Anglo-Mysore War. Now let us move to Third Anglo-Mysore War. This war was fought in the year 1790, ended in the year 1792. What was the main reason for the war? The politics of Travancore. It was the main reason. What was the politics of Travancore? The King of Travancore built a fort in Kochi with the help of the British and captured Ayakota, Kanganuru forts from the Dutch. In this way, the political situation of Travancore led to the Third Anglo-Mysore War. But all these were the clear violation of the Treaty of Mangalore. The Treaty of Mangalore was signed in the year 1784. As per the treaty, either the British or Tipu Sultan or the alliance of the British were not allowed to attack or build any kind of fort. But when the King of Travancore built a fort in Kochi, this was the clear breach of Mangalore Treaty. That's why there was a war between Tipu Sultan and the British. After capturing Bangalore, Lord Cornwallis sought the help of Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad to defeat Tipu Sultan. In the same way, Marathas captured Savanuru, Gajendragad, Lakshmeshwara, Hubballi and other places. The combined army marched towards Srirangapattanam by capturing fort in the year 1792. The fort, Srirangapattanam fort, was destroyed during night. Disturbed by all these developments, Tipu Sultan decided to enter an agreement with the British. That agreement is known as Treaty of Srirangapattanam. Third Anglo-Mysore War came to an end by the Treaty of Srirangapattanam. Now let us see what were the conditions of the Treaty of Srirangapattanam. First important condition, Tipu was forced to part with half of his kingdom and he was forced to pay 3 crore rupees as a war damage free. He had to pledge 2 of his children as a guarantee against the payment, and also he was also forced to release the prisoners of war. The prisoners who were captured by him during the Third Anglo-Mysore War were released by him. And the last one, that is the British withdraw the combined army from Srirangapattanam. From the exam point of view, the terms of Srirangapattanam is very important. You have to give more importance to the terms of Treaty of Srirangapattanam. Now the last war which was fought in the year 1799 was Fourth Anglo-Mysore War. Here, after the Treaty of Srirangapattanam, Tipu decided to defeat the British because he had faced a lot of humiliation. He tried to make an alliance with the local rulers. He tried to send ambassador to France and all. But all these attempts were not liked by the British. Especially Lord Wellesley was the Governor General during this Fourth Anglo-Mysore War. Here Tipu Sultan sent an ambassador to France to get their help to defeat the British. This enraged the British. They thought that an alliance between France and Tipu Sultan would threaten the existence of British in India. That's why they did not like this kind of alliance. And also Tipu was forced to sign a subsidiary alliance system by Lord Wellesley, but Tipu rejected it. Finally, it led to Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, which was fought in the year 1799. In this way, Lord Wellesley was the Governor General and he was the leader of the British Army here. In this way, Fourth Anglo-Mysore War started. At the end, Tipu died in the battlefield. After the death of Tipu Sultan, the British were happy as if the whole India came under their rule, because they knew that Tipu Sultan was very powerful ruler. Most of the territories under Tipu's rule was shared among the British, Marathas and the Nizam. Here you can see the map you can see Mysore, the kingdom of Mysore was shared between the British and also the Nizam of Hyderabad and the Marathas, and a small territory was handed over to the royal representative of Mysore Wadayar. This region came to be known as Mysore princely state. Here you must remember one thing, that Hyder Ali captured Mysore region from Wadayar, but in the year 1799 same Mysore again was given to the Wadayar. In this way, Fourth Anglo-Mysore War brought many changes in the history of Mysore. Now let us move to Dondiyavag. Another important concept of this lesson, another important leader from Karnataka who fought against the British was Dondiyavag. He was born in a Maratha family of Channagiri and he was called Vag. Why was Dondiya called Vag? Because of his bravery. What do you mean by Vag? Vag means the tiger. He started his career as a cavalry soldier in Hyder Ali's army and grew to the position of military general. He built his own private army and fought along with Tipu Sultan. Due to difference with Tipu, he was imprisoned. The British released him from the prison after the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War in the year 1799. After the release, he built a small army, started his operations against the British. He organized the army with the unhappy soldiers of Tipu's army and the feudatory rulers who had lost power. Dondiyavag captured Bidanur and Shivamogga forts and made unsuccessful attempt to capture Chitradurga fort. When he captured all these forts, it was not liked by Lord Wellesley. That's why Lord Wellesley tried to defeat Dondiyavag. When he was caught in between Maratha army and Nizam's army, the British attacked him near Yalaparavi and killed him at Konagal. With the death of their leader, or with the death of Dondiyavag, the followers of Dondiyavag scattered. In this way, another important great leader of the life of great leader of Karnataka, that was Dondiyavag, came to an end. Here Dondiyavag was another important person who rebelled against the British. Here another important leader of Karnataka who fought against the British was Kittur Rani Chennamma. In this map you can see here Kitturu. Where is Kittur? Kittur is located in Belagavi district. Dear students, another important concept of this lesson is rebellion of Kittur, which was led by brave Queen Chennamma. Chennamma and Shivalinga Rudrasarja, they did not have any children. That's why after the death of Shivalinga Rudrasarja, Chennamma adopted a boy named Shivalingappa and started ruling Kittur as a queen regent. Then Thackeray, he was the collector and political agent of the British in Dharwad. Thackeray came to know this. He sent a report to the governor of Bombay and attempted to take over Kittur kingdom under the doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse was introduced by Lord Wellesley. As per the doctrine of lapse, no kings were allowed to adopt a child. Hence, he sent a report. He attempted to take over the treasury and fort under his control. That's why Chennamma considered war was inevitable. She prepared for the war. At the same time, British also prepared themselves for the war. In the battle, Thackeray was shot dead. Many Britishers were taken as the prisoners of war by Rani Chennamma. After this, British attacked Kittur under the leadership of Colonel Deak. The army fought the battle bravely, but Chennamma attempted to flee from the battlefield, but she was captured by the British army. Chennamma and others were imprisoned at Bailahongala fort. Queen Chennamma passed away in the prison. She has remained as an ideal person till today. That's why, dear student, the achievements of Kittur Rani Chennamma is very important from the exam point of view. Now let us move to another important concept, that is Sangolli Rayanna. Sangolli Rayanna also fought against the British between 1829 to 30. The name of Sangolli Rayanna has remained famous along with the name of Rani Chennamma. Rayanna, he was a very brave soldier and he fought for the independence of Kittur, and he felt that it was his duty to liberate his motherland. He fought with Rani Chennamma, but he was imprisoned along with her. But later he was released by the British. After his release, he went on organizing secret meetings at sensitive geographical locations. He aimed at looting the treasury and taluk offices of the British. He became furious with the villagers who were supporting the British army. The British thought that Rayanna was being instigated by Rani Chennamma. That's why they shifted Rani Chennamma from Bailahongal to Kusugal prison. The British devised a cunning strategy to capture Rayanna. They encouraged Desais who were opposing Rani Chennamma. An Amaldar named Krishna Raya joined hands with them. Sangolli Rayanna finally captured cunningly and brought down to Dharwad. He was declared as an offender and was hanged. He was hanged here in a place called Nandagada. Many ballads have kept the life and bravery of Rayanna alive till today. Here also you have to remember the way in which Sangolli Rayanna fought against the British. Another important concept of this lesson is rebellion of Bedas of Hulagali. Where is Hulagali? Hulagali is a small village of Mudhol Taluk of Belgaum district. This was part of Mudhol principality. In the year 1857, the British banned the usage of weapons. They introduced an act called Arms Act. As per the acts, all the arms surrendered to the British. But the Bedas, who always kept guns as part of customs, and they were good hunters also. For their hunting purpose, they needed the weapons. They needed the guns here. They rebelled against the British when they were asked to surrender their firearms. The Bedas of Manturu, Bodani, Alagundi and others joined with Hulagali Bedas. But the British army entered Hulagali village to suppress the rebellion. They suppressed the Bedas in an inhuman way. All the rebels were till death. In this way, the rebels of Bedas of Hulagali came to an end. In exam, we can expect the question like this: explain the rebellion of Bedas of Hulagali. Dear students, in lesson number 4, you have to give importance to all these concepts. Anglo-Mysore War, Dhundiyawag, rebellion of Kittur, brave Queen Chennamma, Sangolli Rayanna and rebellion of Bedas of Hulagali. Along with this, you have to give more importance to the rebellion or the revolt of Surapura Venkatappa Nayaka, Veerappa of Koppal and the Amarasulya, rebellion in Amarasulya. All these concepts have to be remembered. All these concepts must be given importance also. Now let us move to lesson number 5, very easy lesson. You have already learnt this in previous classes. Social and religious reformation movement. Here in this concept you have already learnt Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, Satyashodhak Samaj, Aligarh Reformation Movement, Ramakrishna Mission and Theosophical Society. Here Rajaram Mohan Rai. Rajaram Mohan Rai founded Brahma Samaj. Samvada Kaumudi, a name of the book written by him. What are the main aspects of Brahma Samaj? First one, Brahma Samaj advocated monotheism. Brahma Samaj opposed meaningless rituals. According to Brahma Samaj, every person should live with dignity. No law or ritual should violate this provision. Brahma Samaj intended to assure equality to women by opposing polygamy. It gave importance to equality of women. It advocated for a share in property to honor dignity of life to widow, and also opposed child marriage. And another important aspect of Brahma Samaj is they declared that one can take good things from anywhere. You can take good things from anywhere. It also declared that Upanishads and Vedas also advocated these principles. In this way, you must remember the basic aspects of Brahma Samaj. Another important Samaj, that is Arya Samaj. Arya Samaj was started by Dayananda Saraswati. What are the aims of Arya Samaj? You have already learnt about Dayananda Saraswati. He wrote a book called Satyartha Prakasha, Back to the Vedas, which was a call given by him, and also Shuddhi movement, another important movement of this Arya Samaj. Now let us discuss what are the objectives of Arya Samaj. According to Arya Samaj, all Hindus should believe in one formless God, and no one is Shudra. No one is a Shudra or Brahmin by birth, and caste based system was rejected by it. Encouragement was given to intercaste marriages. They rejected polygamy. They rejected child marriage. According to Arya Samaj, men and women are equal. One should study Vedas and other ancient sacred texts and preach them. In this way, you have to remember all these objectives of Arya Samaj. Here you can see Atmaram Panduranga. A Samaj was founded by Dr. Atmaram Panduranga, was called Prarthana Samaj. Here, Prarthana Samaj was founded by Dr. Atmaram Panduranga in the year 1867. Where it was founded? It was founded at Bombay. What was its aim? Its aim was to find solution to various problems faced by women and also faced by lower caste groups. This association argued that the interpretation of Hinduism is needed in the light of modern Western thinking. It advocated that reformation should not be a wish but should be implemented in reality. They undertook many programs like education for women, rehabilitation of poor people were undertaken by the Prarthana Samaj. These were all the important programs which were undertaken by Prarthana Samaj or Dr. Atmaram Panduranga. Dear students, here you can see one more important social reformer. Who is he? He is Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. Name the organization founded by him. He founded Satyashodhaka Samaj. What are the basic aspects of Satyashodhaka Samaj? You have already learnt this. This Samaj was founded by Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. In order to build philosophical base for the movement, he wrote books like Gulamagiri and Shatkaryacha Asood. Shatkaryacha Asood means cultivators whipcord. And also he opened schools for Shudras and girls. Phule, who belonged to Mali caste, allowed people from all castes, including untouchables, to draw water from his well. Even though he belonged to Mali caste, he allowed other caste people to use his well. And in his activities, he was supported by his wife Savitribai Phule. She joined hands with him in all his achievements. Both of them started hostel for girls. So, you have to remember about the programs which were undertaken by the Satyashodhaka Samaj. Another important concept of this lesson is Aligarh Reformation Movement. Aligarh Reformation Movement was started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. This movement is relating to the Muslim society. According to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, one has to interpret one's religion according to the changing times, otherwise religion becomes sluggish. And he fought against traditions, superstitious belief, ignorance and irrationalities which were there in the Muslim society throughout his life. He said, without an open mind, any social and intellectual development is not possible. He did not support the Parda system for Muslim women. He called for educating Muslim girls He gave importance to the education of Muslim girls. He did not accept polygamy, which was prevailed in the Muslim society. In order to implement his ideals into practice, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan founded a Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in a place called Aligarh in the year 1875. Here, he utilized this institution. Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College was utilized by him to spread the Western scientific and cultural ideas. At the end, this institution came to be known as Aligarh Muslim University. These were all the reformation made by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan or the Aligarh Reformation movement. Now let us move to another important concept, that is Ramakrishna Mission. Here Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and also Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda founded Ramakrishna Mission. Why? In order to spread the teachings of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. This Ramakrishna Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda. He worked to establish a casteless society, as he could see that the society was deeply involved with the caste-based discrimination. Swami Vivekananda also noticed exploitation, poverty, illiteracy and divisions among the Indians, among the Indian society, among the people of Indian society. Vivekananda believed that people should be educated first, then they themselves seek reformation. That's why he gave more importance to the education of the people. He wanted legal institutions to implement appropriate rules to support reformation. He also wanted people to stop following the Western ideals blindly. He forced people not to follow the Western ideals blindly. He believed that it is the duty of the religion to provide light. Without this, religion is itself is of no use. The main aim of religion is to provide light, according to him. The one who responds to the poor is Mahatma. If he not responds, then he is Duratma. The one who doesn't, Duratma. It was said by Swami Vivekananda. Another important concept of this lesson is Theosophical Society. Dear students, you have already learnt about Theosophical Society. Theosophical Society. Who founded Theosophical Society? Theosophical Society was founded by Madam Blavatsky and Colonel H.S. Olcott. Where they started? They started the society in New York. Okay. Later, they came to Adyar near Madras and established the head office of Theosophical Society in the year 1886. What were the aims of Theosophical Society? Why was it founded? Why did Madam Blavatsky, Colonel Olcott start this Theosophical Society? Here we can see two important aims. First one, to do a comparative study of various religions, philosophies and science. Another important goal was to discover the indomitable spirit hidden in the human. Here Annie Besant, very important from the exam point of view, explain the role of Annie Besant in the social and religious reformation movement. Annie Besant, she belonged to Ireland. She was an Irish lady. With the arrival of Irish lady Annie Besant in the year 1893, the movement of Theosophical Society started to grow more. She translated Bhagavad Gita to English. That's why she was called Shweta Saraswati. She wanted education for all. For that purpose, she opened schools. She started Central Hindu Banaras College in the year 1898. The same institution became a university due to the effort of Madan Mohan Malaviya in the year 1916. She started two periodicals, New India and Commonwealth, to initiate discussion on current problems and social issues. She started Home Rule League in the year 1916. She initiated Home Rule movement in Madras region also. She was active in the freedom struggle movement and became the first woman president of Indian National Congress. All these points should be given more important from the exam point of view. Here with regard to Annie Besant, she was not only a social and religious reformer but also a freedom fighter. Dear students, in lesson number 5, you have to give more importance to all this concept. Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, Satyashodak Samaj, Aligarh Reformation Movement, Ramakrishna Mission, Theosophical Society. And also, you must remember Narayana Guru Dharma Paripalana Yogam, Periyar movement, that is, those points should be also given importance from the exam point of view. Now let us move to lesson number 6, First War of Indian Independence. When it was fought in the year 1857. This movement is also called as 1857 revolt. Here in this lesson, we must give importance to 3 important concepts. First one, reason, another one, reasons for the failure, third important one is results. Reasons for the failure, results or the effects of the mutiny. Now we shall discuss one by one. First important concept of this lesson is causes. What were the causes? What were the reasons for the First War of Indian Independence? Dear students, there are mainly 5 important reasons or causes for 1857 revolt. Here, political reasons, economic reason, administrative, military and immediate reason or immediate cause. Now let us discuss these reasons one by one. Here you can see the picture of Lord Dalhousie. When we remember Lord Dalhousie, he introduced a policy called Doctrine of Lapse. Due to the Doctrine of Lapse implemented by the British, many Indian kings had to lose their kingdoms. As per this Doctrine of Lapse, no kings were allowed to adopt a child. If they adopted a child, those children were not allowed to become the king. As a result, Satara, Jaipur, Jhansi, Udaipur, many other states became part of British Empire. And here you can see the picture, Bahadur Shah II, Mughal ruler Bahadur Shah and Nawab of Oudh. They were dethroned by the British. Here Lord Dalhousie abolished the kingship of Tanjavur and Carnatic Nawabs. As I have already said, the British dethroned Mughal kings and many other kings. As a result, many soldiers who depended on these kings became unemployed. These are all the important political reasons for the 1857 revolt. Now we shall move to the economic reason. When we come to the economic reason, we must remember about the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution that took place in England led to 1857 revolt also. Due to the development of industrialization in England, the Indian handicrafts and industries diminished here. England, apart from being an industrialized country, became a workshop of industries. The artisans of India become unemployed. Here you can see the pictures of artisans. The weavers become the first victims as wool and cloth making industries suffered a lot due to the Industrial Revolution. The Indian handicrafts became financially pathetic. The British levied high taxes or customs on Indian goods entering the market of England. Due to zamindari system, the farmers were exploited by zamindars. By forming Inam commissions, Inam lands were also withdrawn. Here, in economic reason, you must remember 3 important points. First one, Industrial Revolution, second one, zamindar system, and the third one, Inam commission. Let's move to another important reason that led to 1857 revolt, that is administrative reason. Administrative causes. The British brought in many civil and criminal laws into effect. During their period, they brought many civil and criminal laws, but in the implementation, there were lot of partiality between the British and the Indians. Laws applied only to Indians in different manner. Here, English became the language of the court, which was not liked by Indians. The English judge gave judgments in favor of the English. They were always making partiality. That's why Indians did not like the new laws. All these were the administrative causes for 1857 revolt. Another important cause, that is military cause or military reasons. The situation of Indian soldiers in the British army was very pathetic. Many Indian soldiers were also working under the British. They were known as the Sipahis, but the condition of the Sipahis was very pathetic here. They did not have good status, they did not have proper salary and promotion, and that were given to the British soldiers. There was a partiality between Indian soldiers and the British soldiers. At the same time, the pressure put on Indian soldiers for overseas work triggered resentment among them due to their religious belief. They were forced to cross the ocean, which was against their religious beliefs. In this way, you have to remember all these points while you are writing military reasons for the revolt of 1857. Last important reason, that is immediate reason. What was the immediate cause for the 1857 revolt? The Indian soldiers who were present in large number in the British army believed that they can drive away the British if all of them become united. But in this situation, the British started providing Royal Enfield guns, a type of new and improved guns. Royal Enfield guns were provided to the Indian soldiers, but here you can see a rumor spread that the bullets of these guns were smeared in the fat of pig and cow. The cow was sacred for Hindus and the pig was prohibited for Muslims. That's why Royal Enfield guns were opposed by Indians. They opposed to use the Royal Enfield gun. In this way, Royal Enfield guns became the immediate reason for the 1857 revolt. When Indians were forced to use the Royal Enfield guns, they protested against the British. Especially, the revolt started from a place called Barakpur. Mangal Pandey took the leadership. After Barakpur, it continued to Meerut. After that, Delhi and Kanpur, Jhansi and other places. In this way, 1857 revolt spread across India, but unfortunately the first war of Indian independence failed. Now we shall discuss what were the reasons for the failure of 1857 revolt. There were many number of reasons. First one, unity among the British and the disunity among the Indian soldiers. It was the main reason. The mutiny lacked direction and leadership. We did not have proper direction, we did not have proper leaders also. The soldiers lacked discipline and organizing skills, and also the Indian soldiers lacked military strategies, planning capabilities and soldiering skills. All strategies, planning skill were there among the British soldiers, but Indians did not have. The freedom fighters lacked a definite aim, whereas the British soldiers, they had aim here. And also, it did not cover every part of India. It covered only few parts of India like Barakpur, Meerut, Lucknow, Jhansi, Oudh, etc. It did not cover every part of India. It was mainly concentrated on the issues of the rights of kings and queens rather than liberation of the country. Many of the Indian kings extended their loyalties to the British, did not support the freedom fighters here. The plundering and other crimes committed by the Sipahis made them to lose the faith of common people. Sipahis lost the faith of common people because of their mistakes here. In this way, 1857 revolt failed. After 1857 revolt, we can see many number of changes. In other words, we can say it as results. What were the results of 1857 revolt? First one, the rule of East India Company came to an end. After this, the governance of British government started here. The administration of India was handed over to Secretary of Indian Affairs of the British Parliament. All the administration of India was given to him. And also in the year 1858, the Queen of Britain, she was called Queen Victoria. Here you can see Queen Victoria. She passed a declaration in the year 1858. And what were the main aspects in the declaration of Queen Victoria? Let us see those aspects. The agreements entered by the company with the local kings were accepted. Non-pursuance of regional expansion, providing stable government for Indians, She promised to give stable government. She promised to give equality before the law, non-interference of the government in religious issues of Indians, and practicing religious tolerance. These were all 5 important aspects of the Declaration of Queen Victoria in the year 1858. Dear children, in this way, in lesson number 6, you have to give importance to the causes of mutiny and also the reasons for failure, effects of 1857 revolt. Now we shall see what are the important questions which can be asked in these 3 lessons. Okay, here you can see the important questions. What were the conditions of Srirangpatnam Treaty? The 4th Anglo-Mysore War strengthened the position of British in Mysore. How? Explain the method of resisting the British power by Dondiyavak. Explain the achievements of Kittur Rani Chennamma. Explain the method adopted by Sangolli Rayanna to fight against the British. What were the preaching of Brahma Samaj? Discuss the reformation advocated by Satya Shodhak Samaj. Mention the aims of Arya Samaj. Explain the views of Ramakrishna Mission. What were the reformation activities of Annie Besant? How did the economic policies result in the mutiny of 1857? List out the reason that led to the failure of the mutiny. What were the political reasons for First War of Indian Independence? What were the administrative reasons of First War of Indian Independence? Explain the results of 1857 revolt. Dear students, you have to give importance to all these questions. Along with this, you have to follow the instruction given by your teachers. Dear students, in today's class, we have discussed opposition to British rule in Karnataka, social and religious reformation movement, and the First War of Indian Independence. Thank you.